Hey, what's going on, good people? I know this is like very random and completely at the last minute, but I was just I was so excited. I couldn't wait to talk about, some things that are happening. And I know it's almost like Sunday night football time. I'm actually watching, the intro to Sunday night football, and I'm actually gonna watch a lot of this game. I think it's the Patriots and the Bills. I got the Bills all day. I think they're gonna like spank the Patriots. I haven't really paid too much to New England Patriots of late, but I know Buffalo is playing lights out football. So we're not going to be on the live too long. But I was feeling inspired. I'm in between editing videos. I wanted to take some time, and I just wanted to reach out and just kind of say hi and give you guys an update on my instrument training, and just what's going on generally, because there is going to be a lot happening this month into November in terms of my aviation journey. This is the time where my annual is coming up. And this year I have to do a pedostatic and transponder check. That's due. And actually, that ends October. And so you have to do those every 2 years or every 24 months. And so October is when, so October 2023 was the last time Charlie had a pedostatic and transponder check. And so now I got to make that happen. So there's a lot that I wanted to kind of give an update, and then just kind of direction of videos and all that kind of stuff. So just wanted to get on here and say hi. And again, I'm going to try not to keep people away from Sunday night football because that's definitely on the radar screen. Um, uh, Brut Hunter, appreciate your content, sir. I'm a student pilot and about to take my private pilot check ride. Good on you, brother. You got this. I know it feels very nerve wracking. I know you may be really nervous, but trust me, you got this. Your flight instructor is not going to sign off on your check ride if he or she doesn't think you're ready. So, just know when it's time that you will be more than ready. Also, keep in mind a check ride is just another flight. They're not looking for the designated pilot examiner or the DPA. They're not looking for perfection. They're looking that you know the information, that you're going to be able to fly safe, and they're not putting a license in your hand that you can put in your pocket so you can put an airplane in the sky and you can't operate safely. So remember, don't put too much pressure on yourself. You got this. Um, Ash Ash Key. Hey Russ, started my PPL in Guam. Wow, in Guam. That's awesome. Now, here's the thing I'm going to tell you. Um, I've actually been to Guam. Believe it or not. Yes, I've been to Guam. Um, was visiting some people on some of the military bases out there. I've never been in the military, but I was out there to support some of the folks out there, and got a chance to visit that very beautiful, beautiful country. I say that everybody should put that on their bucket list because it is an awesome place to visit. Keep doing your biz, yes, sir. TNY H2L, good to see you on live, brother. Good to see you as well. AJ, gotcha, brother AJ from Guam. I'll send you the video footage via email. That's awesome. Blue sky all the way. So what's going on? So right now I am still in my instrument rating training, and believe it or not, I'm beginning to think about when it's time to think about my check ride. I know it is so crazy, because I still get up there and I'm like, what the heck am I doing? But every now and then I catch a glimpse at Russ Can Fly, who knows how to do instrument flying. Now, I will say that there's a couple things that are still challenging me, um, you know, quite aggressively in terms of the training. One, circling to land. For some reason, I'm still kind of struggling with that, especially as I'm doing radio calls. So I'll give you, for instance, so I was on the ILS approach to runway 11, circle to land runway 24. And so instead of making a left turn to basically fly a right downwind from runway 24, I started turning to the right. And it's because I couldn't visualize myself in space during that circle to land. That was my first problem. The second problem is that radio call was crazy. He said something like, okay, so circle the land, stay north of the field, right down. I mean, no, like I think it said right base, runway 24, blah, blah, blah. And so, of course, I basically just said Roger, which was, definitely not because you got to repeat it back. So I kicked it over to my CFI. He was like, yeah, stay north of the field, right base, runway 24, clear for the approach or whatever. So I get down, foggles are off. I'm 1.3 from the field where you're in that protected zone. And I'm like, wait, why did he say right base? Because now I'm flying a right downwind to runway 24. So I still didn't get any of that. Like that whole thing just threw me for a loop. The other thing is I'm still with basically like VOR or ILS approaches, still not exactly sure when I should do what when. Like that's still, I'm still having some difficulty there. On an RNAV approach, not a problem. I see that glide slope get intercepted. I see that one dot deflection up, 10 degrees of flaps. Let's get it. And I can fly that all day. So that's something that's, that's the first thing that I'm really struggling with. And then some of it is just the radio calls, and I get behind, and then I get nervous, and then I get flustered. And yeah, it just gets to be difficult. So I am definitely, struggling there. But I will say that when we did a VOR hold, I can work my Garmin GTN 650 like nobody's business. I know how to switch it, the CDIs from the GPS to the VLOC, get to the VOR, turn that OBS, line that needle up, fly to the VOR, you know, and even entries aren't as difficult to discern because I'm beginning to recognize when it's a parallel, when it's a teardrop and all that kind of stuff. So those things are beginning to come together. So there's just a few things that I need to tighten up. The last approach that I did yesterday, I definitely, struggled a little bit. The plane got a little slow on this ILS, and I was a little off my game. I was a little behind the airplane. But when I came back to the home airport, was doing the RNAV GPS for runway 5, not a problem. So these things are beginning to come together. I do need to get better at briefing the plates. That's one of the things that I'm still needing to, get more efficient with. But it's beginning to come together. So who knows? It'd be great to, get this check ride done before the end of the calendar year. And as you can see, we're in October. So that only leaves November and December. And December gets tricky just because of the weather. And, you can't do actual, because if there's visible moisture, there's going to be icing and all that kind of stuff. But I think I am on track to do my check ride before the end of the calendar year, and I'm excited. Let's see. I'm here in the IT field, but I always had a joy of aviation. That's awesome. Let's see. That looks like a Jet Access logo. Oh yeah. Nope, on me, bro. That's awesome. Hello, what's up, Roger Brewer? Good to see you. So that's what's going on so far for, I know Top Row Studios. Oh man, gonna be a chilly check ride. Yeah. Well, we'll turn. Make sure we get that cabin heat on for sure. Um, and it's interesting when studied for my PPL. I flew all year round. And if you go back some videos with Manish, who was my first flight instructor, well, my second flight instructor ever, you can see there's times where we flew and there was snow on the ground and we're wearing winter coats and all that kind of stuff. So as long as there's no visible moisture and the weather's fine, I'm going to fly. So I am going to definitely keep after it. I am about 32 hours into actual instruction. So I got like, well, no, that's not true. At 32 hours of simulated instrument time, um, but all of that is instructional. Um, at some point, I'll start doing some stuff with safety pilot, and I'm beginning to look at using, the sim just to kind of like shore up some procedures, whatever. But yeah, I'm 32 hours in, of the 40 that I need. And so I think things are beginning to come together, so we'll see. Let's see. Roger Brewer, I enjoy seeing your business face. Things are getting done then. Absolutely. Veggie Straw Animation. Hey, how you doing? Hey, Russ. I see you at Doylestown sometimes. I actually saw you yesterday taxing. Would love to run into you someday. Yeah, if you ever see me out at Doylestown, definitely make sure you say what's up to a brother. I'm always loving to meet people, so definitely make sure you say what's up for sure. Nevada Paul, what's up, Russ? After your instrument, are you going to get your commercial? That is such an amazingly interesting question. Um, I don't know. Here's the thing. I do know that in order to get your commercial, you need at least 250 hours of flight time. Well, believe it or not, I already have that. And in fact, I think I'm maybe about 30 hours away from 500 hours. Because I just love flying. I would fly every day if I could afford it and I didn't have to work. Because this work thing gets in the way of my flying. But that's the only way I can make this thing happen. But suffice it to say, because somebody said to me, well, listen, you got the flight hours, you should think about getting your commercial. And so I don't know. It's an interesting question. I do know that I just need to get on the other side of this instrument. You may have heard from people that the instrument rating is the hardest rating to get. I absolutely co-sign on that 100%. It's just so different. And the level of precision that you have to fly is just so different. But the thing I love about it is it's keeping my brain, working. I'm learning new things. And as a middle-aged person, I, definitely need that. Keep this gray matter working and being challenged. But the other thing is, I know for a fact it's going to make me a safer pilot. I already understand things about what I need to do in Charlie in terms of controlling air speeds and all that kind of stuff. That it's not that I didn't appreciate that as a private pilot, but when you're flying VFR, it's just a little bit less restrictive, which can lead to more mistakes. So I don't know. Great question. Not sure. Um, so let me see, brother AJ. I'm gonna see. Wait a minute. I'm looking at the yeah. So brother AJ, what did you say here? 38 hours left. 38 hours left to get the license. That's awesome. Um, Veggie Straw Animation. Hey Russ, I see. Oh yeah, we did the Doylestown. Pico Sports. What's up? What's going on, brother? Keep working on that instrument rating. Continue having fun, and you do the same, brother. I know you are. You've been after it. Don't give up on it. I can't tell you the number of times where I'm just like, this sucks. I'm paying money to be miserable. This sucks. But no, I'm telling you, don't give up on it, brother. Keep after it and just commit. It's like anything. You are a professional in so many different ways. You do such great stuff. You get press passes and all that kind of stuff. You've been able to navigate some spaces that dictated that you had to be on task and you had to be focused. Bring that same energy to the instrument rating. Let's get these instrument rating tickets, and that way we can fly back and forth to Florida and see each other and all that kind of stuff. All right. What careers are out there for PPE to fly? I don't want to fly commercial. That's a good question. Maybe some other folks can talk about it, but I don't think there's too many things you can do. You can't get paid just being a PPL. One of the prohibitions is, or one of the things you're allowed to do is people can pay their pro rata share for gas and oil and all that kind of stuff, but they can't pay you. So jobs as with a just PPL, I don't think that's possible, but I could be wrong. Others in the comments, let brother AJ know. But I think you have to get your commercial in order to make a career out of flying. TNY, the commercial check ride was easier than that instrument. Interesting. I'm definitely going to take a look at it once I breathe, I do my first couple, and I can't wait to show you guys that video, like my first instrument flight plan and first instrument flight. I can't wait. I get so excited. I can't wait to share that. And what's going to be funny is that it's gonna be all these things like, I can remember my first solo, my first cross country solo, my first flight after getting my, private pilot's license. So I can't wait to share this next milestone. I absolutely can't wait. Um, let's see. Any insight, Mr. Russ? I think you're talking about the commercial. Yeah, working a job without private pilots. Without a commercial license as a pilot, I just don't think that that's possible. There are jobs you can do in the aviation field and not be a commercial pilot. But in order to get paid to be a pilot, I really believe you need your commercial rating to make that happen. And again, if there's somebody else who knows otherwise, please correct me. Dwayne Fernandez, is your instructor single? Look, man, I don't get into that. You know what I mean? That's not what a brother does. You know what I'm saying? That there's just too much jeopardy in even going there. So I don't know, and I'm not gonna ask. And I will just leave it at that. And I get it, I understand, but no, that's just not something, that I want to do, especially since you know, Vanessa and I have a professional relationship. I want to keep it straight to that. I don't want to blur that line at all. Listen, I am a married man. I am almost 60 years old. And I just don't want to be that creepy dude, asking her if she's got a boyfriend, all that kind of stuff. That would be inappropriate, and I just don't want to do that. But I get it. It's a fair question. I can't blame a brother for asking. But yeah, no, that's just not something that I'm going to do because there's a huge ick factor with that one. So that's what I'll say about that. Um, let's see. Don 123. I agree. The instrument was definitely harder. Yeah. Flight Quest. Greetings. How are you? Good to see you. Dwayne, I had the worst instrument experience. Really? I had an FAA inspector show up on my check ride. Yo, that's crazy. For real? Yo, Dwayne, that's that's messed up. I can't even imagine what that was like, man. That must have sucked, you know. Now I'm going to foreshadow something, Mr. Dwayne. You made me think. So in a couple weeks, there's a video coming out, and it deals with the FAA, and it's not going to be clickbait. And I'm not just talking smoke. I cannot believe that this happened. Like, really, really, FAA, this is what we're doing. But you got to wait for that video to come out. But Mr. Dwayne, just know that I feel you, brother, because I I just had something pop off, and I'll just leave it at that. Um, Top Row Studios, any plan on having a Discord channel for the community to chat? So, good question. So, apparently, I do have one of those, um, but I don't understand how it works. And one of the things I'm trying not to do is so I have YouTube is my main social media platform. This is the thing that speaks to me the most. But I do have like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and all that kind of stuff. And I felt like, I was really beginning to spread myself too thin because I really don't understand a lot of these other social media platforms because really YouTube is something I'm still learning about because every now and then they change something and there's some update and I'm still trying to figure stuff out, so I can put out good content because the most important thing is I want to make sure I'm putting out good content for you all because you're spending the most precious thing you can spend on YouTube, which is your time. And so I want to make sure that I respect the time by doing good content. And so somebody said something about Discord, and I started it, and I know I have it, but I can't keep all these things straight. And I mean, I think that's a product of one, not understanding all these different platforms, but two, I'm still working full time. And so most of my time is spent making money so I can keep the lights on. You know what I mean? So I will probably pick that back up, but there's definitely one of the things I've been thinking about is really start thinking about having somebody help me with all of this because I am beginning to feel, you know, that there are tools I should be using, but I am a one man band at this point. Editor, filmer, planner, business, all of that kind of stuff. So that's something that I do want to do because I've heard the Discord thing is, a good tool to have. So stay tuned on that. Like I said, I do have one, but we will figure that out. Where are we here? So Top Row Studios, thank you for that question. That is something I'm thinking about doing. Brother Glenn, what's up, man? Good to see you. Haven't seen you in a while. Always good to see your face in the place. Instrument oral was harder than the others, but I was just prepared and ready for the check ride. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. Just try to just be prepared, for the check ride. AJ, you got boys take care. I like to fly island hoppers, medical supplies, and something in contracting. Okay. The bills are are on tap. Yeah, no, I hear you. Pico, hope to see you next week during my stopover in King of Prussia. On my way back from Florida, Cape Cod. Remember Sun and Fun 2026. So that is definitely something that's on the radar screen. That's why, Brother Pico, I want to make sure that I get this instrument rating done because Florida be trying to mess with a brother with that weather, and I'm not trying to get stuck. I mean, of course, if it's convective, but that's why I'm trying to like really get this done. So yes, Sun and Fun is on the radar screen, is as is Oshkosh. Yes, 2026, Russ can fly. I want to be out there and seeing people and meeting people in the community rather than just flying circles around the area and trying to figure out how to do these approaches. So hopefully we will get a chance to cross paths next week for sure. Glenn, you need that CPL regardless. A commercial, I believe. Russ is right. You can work outside the cockpit in aviation. Yeah. Captain Phil. I got you. I keep, I don't, sometimes I try not to use people's governments, you know what I mean? Just trying to keep privacy, all that kind of stuff. But I got you, Captain Phil. Last question. How do you handle turbulence? I know it's good to always be in control, but sometimes nature just shakes you up at 5,000 feet. So turbulence is one of those things where, it's definitely from time to time. And one of the things that I will say to you is the most important thing is understanding the maneuvering speed of your airplane and making sure that you're within that maneuvering speed. And if you have to slow down, even if you're on a commercial flight, you'll see that if they hit turbulence, you hear those turbines spool down and they slow that airplane way down. It's the same thing. And I know there's some fear turbulence. I used to freak out all the time, especially when I was flying Little Sammy. If you don't know who Little Sammy is, you're not a real Russ Can Fly fan. No, but I'm just kidding though. But Little Sammy's my favorite little Cessna 152. Um, and man, that dude would get bounced around in turbulence like nobody's business. But one of the things I began to realize is like, just like when you're driving on a road and it may have potholes or imperfections and you hit them, you feel them. But if you're not going too fast, you won't damage the car. Airplane is the same way. And just because you hit an imperfection in the road doesn't mean that the car is going to crash. It's the same thing in the airplane. Just because you hit an air pocket or you get a updraft or whatever, plane should be just fine as long as you're within the maneuvering speed envelope. If you're flying outside of that, then yeah, you can crunch some stuff and it can be pretty bad. So, and just remind yourself, even with turbulence, you're still going to be safe because you're going to still be the type of pilot that is going to operate that plane safely. Let's see what else we got here. Nevada Paul. Oh wow, 500 hours. That's a lot. I just got my PPL at 100 hours back in February. I'm working on my instrument by doing my cross country flights with a safety pilot. That's awesome. Whilst I'm under the hood shooting approaches. That's awesome. And that's definitely something that I'm going to start doing as well. To try to make sure I get, because I basically said to myself, yes, I know I only need 15 hours of flight instruction time. But I already knew, yes, I need 50 hours of simulated or actual, and I was going to do all 40 of those hours as instruction. Yes, it's more money. Yes, there's some costs associated with that, but I just figured the way to for me to understand is I am an experiential learner. I learn through experience. And so the more reps I could get in terms of being in that cockpit, doing approaches and all that kind of stuff, the better for me. So that's why I'm doing all 40 of my hours as actual flight instruction in the airplane. Um, Let's see. Glenn couldn't stand the turbulence in the beginning. Yeah. It was 15 hours in, just got over being petrified of the turbulence. Yeah. And I was the one who mentioned the Discord you got and got you set up. Yeah. So brother Glenn, Top Row Studios, we're definitely going to get back to that. It's definitely something that you know I want to do because I want to make sure that there's a good place where this very fantastic community can come together. And I got to tell you, the reason why I call this a very fantastic community is because many of you, I've never met any of you, in person, but man, you guys have had such a phenomenal impact in my life. Um, for many of you who are pilots, you know how this goes. You know how challenging this can be, not only from a financial point, but from a psychological, from a spiritual standpoint. I mean, aviation and being an aviator is very challenging. And I can't tell you the number of times where in different parts of my journey, I've just wanted to be like, I can't do this. This is too much. And all of you, in one shape, form, or fashion, have kept me focused, have kept me on top of this thing, and I can't thank you enough. And yeah, I've had a troll or two, but out of like the 6 years of doing this, I mean, 99.98% of this community has been supportive of not only me, but of each other. It's just so amazing. So, yeah, so that's why I am interested in the Discord and trying to, figure all that out. So thank you so much for, Brother Glenn, for steering me. And thank you, Top Row Studios, for reminding me. But that's definitely something on the radar screen, and as I have more time and as I understand these things more, that's something that we'll definitely engage in for sure. Top row studies, I understand you usually have to have a trusted moderator to help, steer the community channels. Yeah. And that's something that, was as we go along, ask if, people are interested in joining me, you know. Um, Yo, One Dog Geek, how are you, man? Good to see you. Ben Halverson, about to take my knowledge test this week. Ben, knock it out the park, baby. You got it. You know what I mean? Again, the nerves are gonna get you, but remember, you're prepared. You have studied. You know this material. You've done some practice questions. You've studied the material. You got this. Just go in there and take your time. Don't rush. Use the time that you have. The other thing is, don't forget to use the resources that they give you. When you do those, you know, you go up to a certain temperature and then you go down, and then you want to see like what it's going to do, what it's going to take to get you over a 50 feet obstacle. Use the materials that they've given you. Don't try to eyeball it or whatever, because there's answers on there that are close enough, because they know that there's people who try to eyeball it and they don't take their time. So just take your time. You'll knock it out of the park. You got this. Um, so let me see. Production services rooting for you. Let's go. Effinator saying One Dog Geek. My wife loves turbulence. Really, man, that's the first time I ever heard somebody saying they love turbulence. That's awesome. Tell her we said mad respect, wifey. Mad respect. Darcy Walker. Hey Russ, just want to pop in and say hi. Hope you're having a good day. Same to you, Darcy. Hope you're having a good day and all that kind of stuff. Thank you for popping on and showing a brother some love and saying hi. Glenn, I think you're already on top of this, but yeah, Russ, I would recommend taking that instrument test when you're ready and just feel like you'll knock it out rather than rushing the hours. Yeah, definitely. you know I'm definitely not rushing. Now I will say this, brother Glenn, the only thing that I am mindful of is, unfortunately, I waited for that first year, so I have already taken and passed my written, but that written test expires in April, and so that's the only thing that I want to make sure. That's my only window. So yeah, if we creep into 2026 is February or March, but by February or March, I want to be at the check ride, because I don't want to have to retake the written. Um, I really don't want to do that. Anyway, One Dog Geek, yeah, popping in and out of clouds is usually bumpy. She says it's like riding on a roller coaster. Yeah, that's definitely a trip. Effinator, thank you, Russ. Your videos are so inspiring. Thank you for your positivity and continuing to strive. It shows us it's possible. Bless you, friend. Bless you as well. And bless all of you, for all that you do. One Dog Geek has been, with a brother Glenn. You guys have been such a huge blessing to me. And, I call One Dog Geek my big brother, because he's got his instrument rating. We fly the exact same type of airplane. And so it's really fascinating. I will say, One Dog Geek, one of the things I've discovered is I think I only have one VOR. And so there's this one approach that I had. It had a mist. When you went mist, you were tracking one radio, but then you had to intercept another radio. I'm like, but I only have one VOR, and I'm thinking, like, how do I do this? So those are all those things that are just, kind of coming jumbled up in my mind. So at any rate, I am looking at the TV. There is about 4 minutes left in the um first period of the game. Buffalo 0-0, neither one have scored, so I don't want to keep people away from the game too long, but I definitely just wanted to pop on here and say hi. And like I said, I was between blah. I was between videos and I wanted to just kind of come on here and say hi. Let me see. Glenn, I think the aviation community is what inspires me a bit. I was almost out of flying due to the cost. Then friends stepped in and helped me out, loaning me their aircraft. See, that's what I'm talking about. The aviation community, these people, people are salt of the earth. It's awesome. Oh, you only have the VOR on the GTN 650? Yeah, I think that's it. Now, one of the things One Dog Geek I see is when I do the CDI, I see the green needle, but I also see sometimes I see these blue needles popping around. So is there a second VOR? Even though there's one GTN 650, my other one, I have two comms, but it only seems like there's only one nav. So that's something that's still not clear to me. So, gonna be pulling out the manuals and all that kind of stuff. So there's just so many pieces, especially given the fact that again, as I said before, I'm getting ready to go into my second annual at the end of this month, and I got to do the transponder and pedostatic test. So there's a lot of stuff going on, with the airplane. So yeah, your CFI should be having. Yeah, I agree. I'm gonna ask about that, but I'm also gonna ask the avionics people too when they do the transponder and stuff. So there's a couple questions I have about the setup. So yeah, Glenn Watson, but yeah, I believe the 650 only has one comms and one nav. Yeah, I think that's pretty much because there's a there's a comms underneath that I usually use to do like my ATIS or ASOS, but I don't think that has a nav associated with it. Our airplane is in annual right now, been there for a month. Wow, really a month? um is I mean, hopefully everything is cool. That sounds long, maybe, not sure. But anyway, Ben, have a good night. You do the same, and you guys all do the same. So I've almost gone through the first first period of the game. Anybody who wants to go off and get to the game, let's get to the game. Again, I wanted to thank you all for taking the time to jump on this really quick live. um and I definitely am just so absolutely amazed at the support. It's been amazing. I see, yeah, One Dog Geek. Yeah, we've been deferring work on the struts, and there are only a few companies who re-chrome the struts, and we're waiting on them. Got you. Production service ponder each move you make. You are royalty later. Thank you for that. So you guys, have a very, very good evening. For those of you who are watching the game, enjoy. For those of you who root for either team, I wish you luck. Unfortunately, somebody's going to win, somebody's going to lose, but enjoy the game nonetheless. And again, thank you guys so much for your support. It's been absolutely amazing. So great chatting with you guys. Great seeing everybody. Thank you for being on here. As I will always say, Russ Kid, Russ can fly. I'm out. Peace. Take care, folks. I'll see you.